the stadium erupts in red, white and blue. You've never seen anything like it.
Let's go.
Manchester, brace yourself. Rangers are coming!
Hi everyone and welcome to the next and last episode of the Are You Ready podcast for this season. As ever, I'm your host Derek and with me is my co-host Dave. How are you doing, Dave?
Hello, darkness, my old friend. Got a feeling this isn't going to be a very cheery one, Derek, do you?
No, it's certainly not, Dave. It's going to be one of these end of season podcasts where I'm just glad it's over now, Dave.
Well, up until a few weeks ago, we were all excited, weren't we? And then it just turned to shit. And we were still a wee glimmer of hope with a few games remaining, but we knew deep down that it wasn't going to be enough, and that's how it ended up, didn't it? So, and another disappointing game at the weekend to speak about as well. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun pod, so it is.
Yes, we'll get into that in due course. Yeah. Firstly, though, we've got to apologise for being so long. We've not had any post-matches out for a while. We've not had any main podcasts out for a while. It just turns out that Aprils and Mays are not a very good month for me because 2 years ago I was in hospital. Last year my daughter was in hospital, and this year I had to travel over to Spain to go and rescue a family member who ended up in hospital in a pretty serious accident as well. So fortunately we're all fine, but it just doesn't seem to be a good month for me overall. So hopefully next year won't be the same.
Yeah, hopefully next year no injuries, no casualties, no hospital visits, and we'll be league champions, Derek. That's what we can hope for. Steady on,
Dave, steady on. Yes, so without further ado, we've got to go down the tunnel and onto the pitch. So, Dave, we've got a good few games to cover here. We're not going to cover them in great depth at all. We're just going to cover the goals effectively and some of the talking points. Now, my preamble for this is, a league is played over 38 games, so you can't narrow it down to a couple of games, a league loss or a league win. However, after the Ross County defeat and the Dundee draw in April, there was a kind of apathy that came over the whole support. It certainly came over me, Dave. I don't know about you, but it seemed to come over the whole support, and we knew it wasn't going to work out. Had we dropped points against Hearts and Killie in the run-in like we thought that was going to happen, it might be a wee bit more palatable. But to lose at home against Ross County, which losing against Ross County just doesn't happen at all. First time it's ever happened in the history. They were fighting relegation at the time, and then draw against Dundee. Granted, they've been having a good season. Dave, it's been inexcusable the way we've played in the last kind of 7, 8, 9, 10 games. It reeks of, once again, the same players chucking it when there's a weight of expectation in them. And it rendered all their fantastic work since Clement came in absolutely pointless, Dave. And it's been said by several people, it's the hope that kills you. And I think that's what's happened this season, hasn't it?
The hope, Derek, and injuries. And a lot of people have been saying, oh, no, you can't put that. But when a manager comes in at first, like Clement did, and they had no wide players whatsoever, our best player, Summer, then gets injured when he's away on international duty. He picks the team up, he gets us winning, we go on a run, but then more and more injuries. They go out and they sign, Cortez, Diomande, Silva, and Cortez looked a fantastic player. He was coming onto a game, and then him out for the rest of the season. It was that point, Derek, for me, when I found out that Cortez was injured after him playing incredibly well against Hearts, when we absolutely pounded Hearts at Ibrox. When he got injured, I said to myself, we are now struggling with players. And then, the Benfica match, when we got beat there and we were knocked out of Europe against a very good team, I could just sense that was when we were starting to struggle. That's when, as you say, certain players that we keep being told are leaders started to sort of shy away like we've been seeing them doing, and it just got worse and worse. And it got to the game against Celtic at Ibrox where we really needed to win after what had happened, and then dreadful results, as you say, against Ross County and Dundee when we still had the league in our hands is inexcusable. And then, it was the must-win against Celtic at Parkhead, and we know how that finished. So I think it's came, as I say, just after the Hearts game, after we knew that we would have so many players injured. And the injuries are terrible, Derek. The injuries are absolutely shocking. I've never known, and I'm annoyed at a lot of fans having a go at Clement, but, you can only, Scottish phrase, pish with the cock you've got, and that was basically it. He tried his best to get, a tune out of the team. It worked for a wee while, but the same so-called leaders, I think, have let him down and have let us down, and I think there's going to be big changes for next year, Derek. I don't know about you.
Yeah, we'll get into that later from his comments. But talking about injuries just before the games we've got to cover here, it turned out that Goldson was ruled out for the rest of the season due to a knee injury. Now, this is a player that very rarely gets injured.
Yes, never gets injured.
It's maybe been a blessing, though, because certainly he was making mistake after mistake, costing us goals. And I think, certainly from my point of view, I was done with him, Dave. So it's made Clement's decision a wee bit easier, because if you remember, he was dropped just before these run of games as well. So it's made a decision for him.
Derek, to be fair, I think you were done with Goldson ever since the Europa League final. To be fair, I don't think you've been a fan of his ever since then. So you've been quite vocal on that. But no, I agree with you 100%.
Yep. So anyway, the first game we've got to cover, Sunday the 5th of May, it was a 4-1 win against Kilmarnock at Ibrox. Now, as I said, this could have been a banana skin for us, but we got through it in flying colours. However, we started off as usual. However, before the game kicked off, we got a wee Brucey bonus because Hamza Youssef resigned. The Union Bears, however, had to make banners about it. At the business end of a title race, you need the team focused. We need the team to score a barrel load. They're putting banners out about SNP, former First Ministers. What the fuck has that got to do about anything? 100% agree with the sentiment, but there's a time and place for it. That game was not it, Dave, was it?
I am not a fan of political statements at football, regardless. We've seen it from the other side of the city as well, with all their political postings and all that pish that goes on. I want 100% support of the club, Derek. That's what I want to see. I want to see banners about the players. I want to see banners about the management. I want to see things like that. I'm not a fan of anything political at all in football. That's the way that I've always been.
Yeah, I don't get it. I really don't get it. Anyway, into the game. Lots of VAR checks early on. Dessers had scored, but it was ruled out for offside, which I think was debatable in the end.
Yes.
Dave, I think there was about 24 minutes on the clock, and you'd be lucky if there was 9 minutes of play.
Yeah, I know. It was very, very scrappy and stop-start constantly.
Yep. However, on the 12th minute, we managed to outdo ourselves as usual. Kelly went 1-0 up with Tav scoring on OG. It was a long ball from the right side to the back post. The attacker sclaffs it, hits off Tav's chest and in at the near post. There was a VAR check and the goal stands. Dave, just diabolical straight away.
It was. And it was really Kelly's first chance. And as you say, it was a nothing ball into the back. To be fair, Derek, I don't think that Tav could have done much with his positioning. He was too close to the line to try and hook the ball clear. He was unlucky that way, but the marking absolutely atrocious. I say it was just a hopeful ball, floated it into the back post, and the guy managed to get the ball in the byline and whip it in. There was nobody trying to cut it out before it got there. Just as you say, just really, really poor defending again, and we've seen it so many times, haven't we?
Yep. 19th minute, the ball was cleared off the Kelly line by the defender after Sterling tries to shoot the ball into the net from close range. The defender also took Sterling out. There was a VAR check for handball. The referee goes to the screen. A penalty was given on the 22nd minute and a red card was given. When you look back at it, I think everybody missed it at first, but it was a clear handball off the line. He raised his hand.
Totally.
Whether he knew much about it, I'm not too sure, because I think he was turning at the time, but it stopped the ball going in, and it might have been harsh, but as the rules state, that's a red card. You can't have any arguments about it.
Yep, totally. And as I say, it stopped the ball from going in. it hit his arm. He did raise his arm slightly just before it went in. So, yep, as you say, it is harsh to get the sort of double punishment there, but that is the rules, and that's, what happened. So.
Yep. 24th minute, and a long list of misses from Tavernier by the penalty this year. He misses again. He hits it low and powerful, but in fairness, it was actually quite a good save by the Killie keeper. So another missed penalty there.
Yeah, no, unfortunately. But as you say, credit to the goalkeeper, because he did strike it really, really well. But maybe a bit close to the goalkeeper, right enough and low, but a good save regardless.
Yeah, because of all the VAR checks, I think there was something like 8 minutes of injury time. There should have been more, to be honest. However, in that 8 minutes, on the 53rd minute, we draw level and we score with Silva to make it 1 each. It was a long ball floated into the box from the right. Silva gets in front of the defender and on the half volley gets it into the net. Brilliant goal. But he spoils it by celebrating, by turning his back to the Rangers crowd, pointing to his name and then doing a mouth and off gesture to the Rangers fans, because obviously he was getting a good bit of stick in the previous games. That's not a way to endear yourself with the Rangers fans, is it, Dave?
Definitely not. Stupid thing to do. A great goal as well. A great time for us to get the equaliser, because up to then there was nothing much happening, and as you say, he just spoiled the occasion, spoiled the memory of the goal now as well, because that's all anybody will remember, and just really, really stupid.
Yes. Into the second half, it was certainly a better second half because we got a lot of goals. 62nd minute, Davis scored to make it 2-1. It was an absolute thunder bastard by Lundstrom right at the keeper, but it was spilled. Davis was alert and managed to pick up the spilled ball and round it past the keeper, so that was great there. 71st minute, Lawrence made it 3-1. A stunning strike from outside of the box into the top right corner. Brilliant goal. And then on the 93rd, to round the game out, Suter made it 4-1. Lawrence with another great strike, forcing the keeper to push it into the near. Suter follows it up with a header into the net. Just great awareness there and a good shot by Lawrence. And we rounded out 4-1 winners. So not only did we get the 3 points from a potential banana skin, we racked up the goals as well. It just so happened Celtic, I think, had a 3-goal win as well. So it still left the goal difference the exact same.
Yeah, it was. It was. I mean, it was an excellent result considering we went 1-0 down, Derek. But how many times have we said that when we go 1-0 down? That's been another huge issue that we've had this season, is going 1-0 down. But the pick of the goals out of all of them was Lawrence's goal. It was a tremendous goal by him. He he got the ball just outside the box. He flicked it past his man to the left, and then he just unleashed he actually cuts back inside and then curls an absolutely sensational goal, ball into the net. A tremendous goal, but an excellent result, as you say, and it did give us a wee bit of belief at that stage, didn't it? Because we managed to get so many goals for being 1 down. But I would take that any day of the week if we could keep doing that. But I just wish that we didn't make it so hard for ourselves. And that, like I said, has been a huge part of this season for us.
Why do we do it? It's almost as we seem to need to go down a goal or two in some of the games before we actually start playing, and it's just leaving us a mountain to climb every single time. But anyway, after the game, there was a wee bit of a stramash with a couple of the players as they were leaving. There was some aggro between Butland and Barisic and some fans. They were signing autographs as they normally do, and I don't know what happened. They either missed a couple of people or something was said, and Barisic went over to somebody in a quite aggressive manner, and Butland ended up doing it in a separate incident as well. I mean, if it's been a genuine fan having a go at the players for no signing autographs, get a fucking grip. However, there's been some reports and some suggestions that there were actually professional autograph hunters looking for stuff to be signed just for them to punt on eBay. So I think we need to temper what we're saying about the situation, because we don't know the full story about that as well, though it just wasn't a good look either way. And see if it has been somebody that's getting a bit argy-bargy, whether it be a fan or an autograph hunter, because they're not getting their way, they're kind of quite right. But at the same time, the players need to remember we don't know that it was just a bad look from them from that point of view. But just a sorry state all round.
Yeah, it was quite an embarrassing statement from the fan with Butland as well. Probably one of the worst things that I hate hearing anybody say. I don't think that Butland looked bad at all. And Derek, he didn't raise his voice. He was basically saying, I usually sign loads of these things. So I am not reading much into that one at all, to be honest with you. So
what was the comment? I pay your wages or something.
Which is probably the worst thing I think you could say to anyone in any form, because that's absolutely ridiculous in any stage. I hate hearing that phrase. It's one of the worst things, actually. I hate hearing people say, because I've heard people saying it to people on the telephone and that loads of times. It absolutely rips my knitting, as you would say, Derek. So no, it wasn't a good look by the fan that was there anyway, but I think he did get a few folk giving him hassle for it, because at the same time, we don't want any of our players, especially our top players, saying, "Oh well, I'm getting abuse for the fans," and that's when things start changing, Derek. That's when there's no person in the world that would be able to have a heart of stone like that and stay as professional if you thought, and especially Butland, how well he's played this season for us. So I don't like seeing that.
The last game excluded, of course.
Yeah. There you go. Maybe that was playing on his mind, Derek. Maybe he was thinking about his wages getting paid to him by that supporter. You never know.
Anyway, the next game we've got to cover, Saturday the 11th of May. It was a 2-1 loss against Celtic at Parkhead. Now, because we never lost the game against Kilmarnock, it thankfully meant that Celtic couldn't win the league technically at Parkhead. If they beat us, they basically did theoretically win it though, because it was 6 points with 2 games to go, and it was only goal difference, which Celtic were never going to lose 2 games, and we were never going to win 2 games and score that amount of goals we needed either. So, but this game did give us a wee glimmer of hope anyway before we kicked off, because if we win the game, it would have went back down to no points between us and just goal difference, and anything could have happened. But Dave, it wasn't to be. In the first minute, Celtic nearly score from an OG from us after a cross came into the box from the right, hits off Suter, and a great save from Butland that kept it out. Just first minute again, Dave. Again.
Exactly. And we could all just see the script when it happened. We were actually just waiting for the ball to end up in the back of the net, but thankfully it didn't. But we were waiting on it, weren't we?
Yep. 35th minute though, Celtic scored their first goal. We were carved open on the right hand side. The cross came in. There was space on the edge of the box and a shot at Butland's near post. Just really poor defending. I think Butland could have done a wee bit better as well.
It was a shambles all round. I actually seen the goal coming, because all O'Reilly did was just match the run. It was Forrest on the right. O'Reilly sort of stayed behind him. Forrest ran at our left back, Barisic, and O'Reilly just sort of peeled off him. Nobody tracked him whatsoever, not a single person. Celtic's player of the season, who scored all these goals from midfield, not a single person tracked him. Absolutely criminal. The ball gets played to him. He picks his spot at the near post, fires it in. As you say, I'm surprised that Butland never managed to get something on it as well. But the whole thing was just absolutely shocking. And I saw it played out. As soon as Forrest made the run and I seen O'Reilly peeling off, I knew that there was nobody with him. And that's all it would have taken. Just somebody to match the run. Simple stuff. And, that was us a goal down. Again, criminal defender.
And if that was bad, 3 minutes later, it was even worse, because we went 2-0 down with Lundstrom scoring an OG. It was a long ball from right to left. Tavernier with no pace to keep up with the guy. They get the ball into the box at the touchline. Celtic cut it back. Lundstrom puts a half-hearted toe poke into it, and he ends up hitting it into the back of the net. An absolute shambles, Dave. Yep. Just unbelievable.
Complete shambles. You can't say it anymore. Tav, again, gets done by Maeda, like has happened I don't know how many times before, and Lundstrom, wrong place at the wrong time and in the back of the net. So again, just absolute shit show in defence again.
Yep. 2 minutes later, though, we did pull a goal back with Dessers. Tavernier to Lawrence, right to the centre, who plays it to Silva on the left side, who drives it forward, holds it up for the overlapping Barisic, who has a great cross. Sterling headers it towards goal. Dessers with a backwards header into the back of the net. It was actually a really good move, good execution as well. A wee bit of lifeline there. However, a few minutes later, Dave, on the 47th minute, any lifeline we might have got from that was completely undone by the absolute stupidity of Lundstrom. selling the jersey and getting a straight red card. He comes in full paced, leads with the studs, catches the ankle of the Celtic player. Colum initially gives the yellow card, VAR upgrades it to the red. No complaints whatsoever. It was a stupid, nonsensical challenge for a ball in the Celtic half going away from goal. How many times do players do this? They just give away stupid fouls for balls that are going absolutely nowhere. I know he was probably trying to make up for his mistake scoring the OG, but he went about it the exactly wrong way, and he cost us that game, Dave.
We were in the ascendancy as well, Derek. We had just scored that goal. We were getting belief back. We all know this season that we have been pretty successful from coming back from being goals down and coming back into the game. So we had that belief in us. And then the belief, just like what you says, was completely ripped out of us with an absolutely stupid mistimed tackle. And again, he could have no complaints about it being a red card, and it really just put us in the mire from then on in.
Yep. Into the second half, I think it was about on the 50th minute, I think, Celtic got a penalty. It was given by Colum straight away. It went to VAR. He goes to the screen. It was still given as a penalty. The Celtic player cuts across, I think it was Davis, and it was a Celtic player that instigated contact. There was no chance that was a penalty.
Nope.
I don't have an issue with Colum giving the penalty in the first instance, albeit he couldn't wait to point to the spot with this one. It's the fact that it had taken so long for VAR to decide it, and then even after the fact, when he went to the screen, it was still not clear. He'd taken an absolute age to decide, and he's still given the penalty. There is no way in a million games that is a penalty, Dave. The game's up these days. It really is.
Yeah, it really was. The fact, Derek, that it takes so long for him to look at the screen shows you that he was still indecisive about the decision. And if you're indecisive about a decision, then you don't give it. That's the way that I see it. But we all know what Willie Collum's like. He doesn't like to, admit that he is wrong. I know he's done it just once this season, but we saw what happened with the handball with Alistair Johnston and Simmer. The first time we played at Parkhead, that was still an absolute farcical decision. It's probably the most farcical decision I've seen this season. And there has been loads, and we'll talk about them in the upcoming games probably. But that's just Willie Collum for you. So if you've got any doubts whatsoever, you don't give it. But that wasn't the case here.
And it almost has looked as if O'Reilly was embarrassed about it, and he hits a really, really shit penalty, and Butland saved it. It was almost as if he'd done it deliberately. Can't imagine he would have done that. But
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, he missed the penalty nonetheless, so it stayed 2-1. But the second half continued as you would expect. Us on the back foot, couldn't really get into the game. Celtic scored 2 goals, but they were both clearly offside, and that's really how the game ended up. During the game, though, Tavernier went to take a corner in the second half, and he was met by a barrage of missiles, one of which was a weed grinder. If it couldn't be any more obvious, Colum trying to sweep things under the carpet here, rather than take the aim over to the fourth official and or the police, like what would normally happen, he ran to the goal line at the goals and he chucked it on the ground. When has that ever happened, Dave? That's not protocol for any missiles like that.
Never. Especially for something like that, Derek, that you really could have caused some damage. So I was baffled with that one as well.
And it's never been mentioned again. I think it was mentioned in the media reports slightly after that. But yeah, nothing about the whole furore about glass bottles. Granted, that was shocking. That should never have happened at Ibrox. But we had media stories about that for days on end.
Yep.
And Celtic never shut up about it either. So again, that's two things: the media once again playing into Celtic's back pocket, and 2, Rangers not being on the front foot with this type of thing here as well. But anyway, that meant that the league was 100% over at that point, bar goal difference. It wasn't going to take a lot. Celtic won it in the next game. We played on Tuesday the 14th of May. It was a 5-2 victory against Dundee at Ibrox. Now, I watched the Old Firm game in Liverpool, and I ended up watching this game in Spain. So I genuinely travelled this time to use my RTV and not on a VPN as usual.
There you go, yep. Mm-hmm.
Yes. There was big gaps in the crowd, as you would expect, after the Old Firm game. League was effectively over. And Dave, I almost lost the plot at this point. 38th minute, Dundee made it 1-0. Diamandi lost the ball in the Dundee half. It was played out to the right side, crossed into the left, crossed to the back post. Absolutely nobody picking up the player, who sclaffs it off the ground. and deflects into Butland's near post. Again, I think Butland maybe could have done better on that one there, but Dave, shambolic defending all round again.
Shambolic and going 1-0 down again. You know, I don't know how many times this has happened to us. So, you go what 1-0 down at home. I realised that the league was done. We knew that, but still very, very poor, Derek.
Yep. And if that wasn't bad, 2 minutes later, Dundee went 2-0. A short free kick from Dundee. Everyone switches off. Nobody goes to players. Nobody marks players. Nobody puts in any challenges. The cross came in and it was flicked into the net. Dave, I lost the point. I plotted this point.
Thankfully, Derek, I was travelling to my work at that stage when it happened, and I was listening, unfortunately, having to listen to BBC Scotland, to them salivating for the fact that Rangers were getting beat 2-0 at Ibrox, and I thought to myself, what the hell is going on here? We thought if it was maybe 1-0, there's a good chance that we're going to get back in, but at 2-0 you're thinking to yourself, we'll be lucky to scrape a draw here. Yeah.
However, we did pull a goal back shortly after because McCausland made it 2-1. It was played to the right to McCausland. He plays a touch forward round the player into the box, and his second touch shoots into the net from the right side through the keeper's legs. Just a great goal made by McCausland there to basically pulling the game up by its bootstraps.
Yeah, it was. He only had one thing on his mind, and that was to get a shot at goal. He managed it sort of outstretched, but I think he sort of poked it with his toe at the end, and that's what gave it the power to get past the goalkeeper and given us hope, at least, going into the second half.
Yes. Second half, though, it was like night and day. It was fast, it was free-flowing football. That's what the kind of stuff we wanted to see. And again, as I said, why does it take us going 2 goals down for us to start playing? 52nd minute, Dessers made it 2 each. Cantwell crosses in from the left into the middle. Dessers headers the ball down into the ground and into the back of the net. A good goal. 65th minute, Cantwell makes it 3-2. Cantwell on the right wing. He looks up. I'm certain he must have been crossing it, and the ball ends up going into the top left corner over the keeper. It was a cracking goal. As I said, it must have been a cross, but if he meant it, it was goal of the season.
Yeah, it was. I don't think he meant it. He might turn around and say that, but it was a cross, Derek. But I don't care. It went into the back of the net, so I really don't care. But Cantwell was excellent in the second half regardless.
Yep. 87th minute, Wright made it 4-2, trying to force the ball through the middle of the Dundee box. A couple of fortunate breaks. The ball fed to Dowell on the left side of the box, and a lovely inventive lob over the defence to the other side, which finds Wright unmarked, who had a side foot half volley into the net from close range. Just lovely from Dowell there. And in the 93rd minute, Wright makes it 5-2 as well. A sweeper move up the park, work from right to the centre to McCausland, who dinks it over the foot of the defender to Wright on the left side of the box, who has a lovely play shot into the net. Brilliant from Wright. He had only been on the pitch maybe about 10 minutes, and that's him scoring 2 goals. Brilliant.
Yeah, no, it was great. And 2 very good goals by him as well.
Yes. So, from 2-0 down to winning 5-2, you've got to give them credit for that.
Definitely, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it's just, why do we switch off like this?
Yes, I know. It's, as I said, delighted to win from 2-0 down, which is, incredible. Scored some fantastic goals, but the difference in the team at half-time, so I don't know what Philip Clement said to them at half-time, to raise it, but they certainly did raise it. Like I said, Cantwell was excellent and just came too late for us, Derek.
Yep. That leads us into the last league game of the season, Saturday the 18th of May. It was a 3-each draw against Hearts at Tynecastle. Once again, Dave, we went 1-0 down because Shanklin scored on the 33rd minute. It all starts from a slack ball from Cantwell in the Hearts half. How often does that happen? We'll lose the ball in the opposition half. One ball through the middle of our defence to Shanklin, who has one touch to take it further forward, and his second touch dinks it over Butland. So sloppy again. Once again, needlessly losing the ball in the opposition half leads to a goal against us. Pish poor.
It was really pish poor, and I'm a big fan of Shanklin. Derek, as soon as he picked the ball up in that position, I just knew he was going to score. That's just the type of player that he is, especially this season. It was really a really good finish by him. He'd be able to spot exactly where Butland was going, a guy that's on top for him. But again, it's so annoying that we actually create these goals for the opposition just by playing silly passes. And again, Cantwell, who was excellent in the last game in the second half, as you say, just being really, really slack, trying to take extra touches instead of just playing simple balls, and it led to the demise of the first goal.
Yep. However, McCausland on the 52nd minute, once again, creating something, pulling the game up by his bootstraps, makes it 1 each. Tenacious play by McCausland to win the ball in midfield by flicking it over the Hearts player. He drives it forward, cuts inside and skins the defender while doing so, and a shot from outside of the box off the post and in. Brilliant from McCausland there. 69th minute, Cantwell makes it 2-1. It was played forward to Dessers on the left side of just outside of the box, flicked onto Cantwell on the edge of the box, who controls it, switches feet and hits a great shot again off the left post and in. 10 minutes later, Silva makes it 3-1. A quick move with Dill through the middle, feeds it to McCausland on the right wing, who crosses in, a slight nick off the toe of the defender. Silva was brilliant, very quickly comes off his defender on the left side to meet the ball, takes a touch, turns and shoots into the net. A very well taken goal there. That was Silva showing what he's worth there. And I think, like most of us, you would have thought the team, we've kind of wrapped out the game now. There's a lot of Hearts fans started to leave at that point. However, on the 82nd minute, Hearts pulled a goal back to make it 3-2. Silva in possession down the left side in our half. He tries to take on a player, loses possession of the ball. The ball was played to the centre, then to the left side, across into the back post to find the Hearts player drifting in, completely unmarked all the way, and he shoots it into the net. Again, Dave, with the marking. And again, with losing possession. Yep.
Losing possession right at the start. That's what it all comes down to, I think, to start off with. If you keep possession, you don't give away the ball stupidly, you don't get yourself in that position. But like you said, the defending to match it, just really, really, really poor, not following the runner. And at the end of the day, I mean, it was a good goal by the guy, but he should never have been in the position to get that strike away regardless. So again, our mistakes are causing the problems in the end.
Yep. And once again, our mistakes causing problems. On the 95th minute, Hearts draw level and make it 3 each. It was a long ball up the park from the Hearts keeper, a header at the edge of the box, and granted a cracking volley past Butland. One of the few good goals that we've been beaten by this season, but the space was given to them, and that was the issue from our point of view. One thing to note is the fact that when the ball was played up, the Hearts player and our player were going for the same header. However, that Hearts player drifted away. Another one who came from the forward position, he drifted in, which gave him the ability to knock it forward. Whether it was by design or just by pure accident, it was actually very smart play. But us again, not picking up players, giving them an amount of space in the midfield. It's poor, Dave.
Yep, it is. And regardless what was happening at the end of the season, it'd be 3-1 up at Tynecastle against Hearts, who had a very strong season, is an excellent result. But, again, and I know it didn't mean anything, but to give away the 2 goals at the end, within the space of 5 minutes, it's criminal defending all day long.
Yep. So after the game, Cantwell had posted a Instagram thing about him celebrating, and then he took it down very quickly after. Quite rightly, he got some abuse from it. I mean, we've just lost the league. We've just thrown away a 2-goal lead to draw the game. We've got a final coming up, and he's posting shite like that. He's another one, Dave, I've really had enough of. He blows hot and cold in games. He blows hot and cold throughout the season. He gets involved in silly wee spats on and off the field. He's an absolute liability at times. And with his Twitter posts like that, he seems to be more interested in his personal gain and his personal stats than actually for the team. Dave, I can't be arsed with him anymore. Yes, he has got talent, but he winds Rangers fans up. Not the opposition. He winds Rangers fans up with shit like that.
He also is a target, Derek. He is a target for the opposition players. He does get the vast majority tackles. He gets battered up and down the pitch. But I don't want to say that he brings it on himself. But if he was to be a bit more, quiet, shall we say, away from the field. But again, he's the one that looks as if the opposition players can wind up. Certainly against Celtic, it seems to happen all the time. McGregor winds him up and he bites constantly. I think after the cup final that we're about to see, I've got a funny feeling that we'll not see him in a Rangers shirt again, Derek.
No. Anyway, there was a wee bit of an issue in handbags between Rangers and Hearts fans. It looks as if some of our fans managed to get into the Hearts end during the game. Dave, it's going to happen if you cut our allocation and then your own fans don't take their full allocation. Yep. So I've no sympathy for Hearts there. But anyway, last game we've got to cover in the last game of the season, thankfully. Saturday the 25th of May. It was a 1-0 loss against Celtic at Hampden in the Scottish Cup final. I'm not going to cover it in great depth, Dave. It was an absolute non-event of a first half. I will give us a wee bit of credit, though, because we stopped Celtic doing anything and we matched them very evenly. Yep. There was a penalty shout for Celtic on the 24th minute when the ball came off the head of the Celtic attacker in the box and then off the hand of Davis. Not a penalty for me, as it was too close range from the actual initial contact. However, it's something that this season with VAR we've seen penalties given for. So whether we got off with one there, I'm not too sure. It wasn't a penalty for me, though.
No, I think it would have been very harsh. But again, I'm surprised it wasn't given, Derek, going by the way that things have turned out against Celtic this season for us. We've had no luck whatsoever. So I was actually quite shocked that they didn't give it at the time, but it would have been very harsh if it had have been.
Yep. Second half, though, it was pretty much all us, and this is where I've got to give the team a lot of credit for the effort they've put in. But that's almost like that's the bare minimum we expect. And it was still the same issues. We done fuck all with the possession. We done fuck all with the chances. We're still not shooting when we should have. We were taking extra touches when we shouldn't. And I've said it before. Celtic players, they shoot at the slightest sniff of a chance. Yeah. Yep. We have players want the space shuttle perfect conditions before they will shoot. It's pathetic, Dave.
It is, and that has been a big problem for us this season as well, as we've had so many chances, players in great positions to get a shot away, and if they do, it's usually off target. Lundstrom was, this season for Lundstrom, the amount of chances that he had to get a shot on target, and you were screaming and shouting at him, and it was usually always off target or soft ones in. But that is a huge one for us. And again, Derek, we speak about Dessers a lot, and I'm not taking anything away for the amount of goals that he scores, but even you have admitted to me as well, we just wish that he would shoot on sight sometimes instead of trying to take extra touches. And it's not just been him, it's been other players as well. So no, you're quite right. We just don't seem to have that in us, just to have the slightest sniffy goal, just give it a crack. And you've said it, I don't know how many times over the years, shooting at goal usually brings something, whether it's a deflection, whether it cannons off someone and deflects to one of your players, but it leads to penalties, it leads to corners, it leads to all sorts. But we just don't seem to do it, do we?
No. Controversy, though, on the 60th minute, because Sima had the ball in the back of the net from a corner after the ball was floated into the back post, and Sima kneed it in. I don't think he knew anything about it, in fairness. No. However, it was ruled out because Raskin have deemed to have pushed Joe Hart. Dave, never in a million years was this a foul. There was a slight nudge, a very slight one, but not in the way that it would have moved Hart the way it did. Hart was going for that ball. It was going in that direction, and he got nowhere near the ball. So how that was a foul, I don't know. What is even worse about it is the fact that Greg Taylor had his arms around Raskin at the same time, and that was deemed not a foul. There was also one of our players at the near post getting manhandled. So either the goal should have stood, or it's a penalty to us.
100%, yep.
Playing devil's advocate here, if the ball didn't go in, would VAR have been checked for that foul on Raskin? I don't think it would have, Dave, because that's the way it's went this year with VAR in Rangers and Celtic games and us getting ruled out. That's 4 clear goals now being ruled out, I think, in the last 5 or 6 Old Firm games where it's been a subjective issue. It's not been like an offside or anything like that. I think we did have a goal ruled out for offside before this season with them. But that's subjective issues that people have used their own judgment to say, no, that's not a foul, or that goal doesn't count. I mean, then add in all the other things this season, add in the penalty decision for the Johnson handball that they concocted a story about, then add in all the other niggly things that went against us in this game alone, such as Dessers getting bundled over at the edge of the box in this game. It was a clear foul, but nothing was given. Cameron Carter-Vickers was a 2-footy challenge on Dessers as well, nothing given. I'm convinced that's why Dessers had to go off, and he's injured from it now as well.
Yeah, yep.
The other thing, the fantastic tackle by Sterling where he got all of the ball, and he was given a yellow card and a foul for Celtic. He got the ball. I mean, I don't think that the referees there's a conspiracy against us, Dave, because they could have easily given the handball. I just think they're so inept, and then when you allow subjective things to come into it, you're just allowing them to say whatever they want. It's poor.
When I look back, and you can see it quite clearly what we've got here. When the ball comes in, Derek, we've got 3 Rangers players all near Joe Hart. Right now, I think it's Silva at the near post. When the ball comes in, Cameron Carter-Vickers has got his arm round Sima's neck and the other one round his waist. Behind him, we've got Davis, who's being marked by the other Celtic defender, I don't know who it is, who also has got both arms round Davis's waist. You've got Greg Taylor, who is pushing Raskin, who is then pushed on to the goalkeeper. Right? So Raskin has been pushed from the back. It's quite clear. I mean, I'm actually looking at the picture of it right now because I had it saved because I knew we would be talking about this. So there's 3 fouls in the box, all against our players, and it turns out that he gives the one foul against Raskin, who was being pushed in the back by Greg Taylor into his own goalkeeper. Derek, that is quite sensational stuff when you look at it. Why on earth was that one thing looked at and not the other 2 fouls that were taking place in the box? Why was it that one that was looked at and deemed to be a foul when there was another 2 clear fouls going on at exactly the same time?
The thing is, though, it was never a foul. That's the thing. And if I know keepers get extra protection, but if he's deeming that as a foul, the game is absolutely fucked. And this is where he missed it. He never seen it initially. And this is where VAR needs scrap now, Dave. I've had it with VAR because they are using it completely wrong. Yep. They are re-refereeing games now, and it's not the way it should be done. It wasn't a clear novice error, and where's the clear novice error for, as you said, the 3 fouls that are happening as well? Subjective once again.
Derek, I actually got really annoyed with myself. Do you know why I got annoyed with myself? Because I celebrated the goal.
Yeah.
I celebrated the goal. I was gone mental. I was celebrating the goal. And then as soon as I heard it was going to VAR, I didn't even know what it was going to VAR for. And I knew instantly that the goal wasn't going to stand. Right? And I didn't even know why it was being checked. I knew it wasn't going to stand. So it was just a complete and utter farce. And I knew after that, with the goal, and I watched it back, and I watched it back, and I watched it back, and I still couldn't see what was going on because all I could see was all the Celtic players hanging on to all the Rangers players at the time. And I thought to myself, that's it. We are not going to get anything from this game whatsoever. And from then on, I knew that we weren't going to win, 100%.
Yeah, you just knew it.
Yep.
Anyway, that came to fruition because on the 90th minute, Celtic made it 1-0 with Ida scoring. Celtic get the ball in midfield. Raskin puts a challenge in, actually fouls the player, but the player rides it. Ref says play on. Because there's so much space, the same Celtic player drives right through the middle of our midfield. A powerful shot at the edge of the box, which is right at Butland, but for some reason he tries to palm it out. Ida gets a jump on Balogun and Tav and hits the rebound in. Now, Dave, Raskin was getting a good part of the blame for this, and I'm not sure how. He had a clumsy attempted challenge. He wasn't on a yellow like somebody suggested, so he should have wiped the player out. That's maybe the only thing he could have done. But the main issues, big gaps in midfield. Butland has to take a lot of the blame for this as well. He's kind of been getting the blame for it because why did he palm it? He's got a habit of spilling things in the last part of this season as well. He's nearly cost us a few times. But for me, apart from Butland, two other players are really at fault here. Balogun for not tracking either. However, he was facing the player who had the shot, so he couldn't really see he had lost his man. But and I know I keep banging on about him, and I'm not picking him at all because I've really pissed off with him. But the biggest culprit for me is Tavernier, because Tavernier was behind Ida, so he knew exactly where he was. He could see Balogun, and he could see where Balogun had drifted off him. But what did he do? Absolutely nothing about it, apart from pulling up once the spill by Butland had happened to try and claim for offside. It was so pish poor from Tavernier. He just pulled up. He could see that the player had drifted off. He could have tried and sped up and try and go in in front of him, but no, he done nothing. It was fucking shambolic again.
Yep, again. Yep. It was a very, very, very poor save by Butland. You're expecting him to get that ball away, and it was a good shot at goal, but we've seen him save things like that before, Derek. But either that or to get the ball away from safety. But as you say, for not being able to track, the man, the follow-up, again, something that you're told, always follow the runners when you're defending. For it not to happen again was criminal. And it was... Rangers were the better team in the second half. Don't get me wrong, Derek. It wasn't the fact that we were pounding Celtic and having shot after shot after shot. We really weren't. But we were controlling the game to a certain extent, certainly more than what they were. And it was against the run of play that it happened. But again, it is all down to us. We're defending and our mistakes. And, between, Butland and the defence as well, it was just really, really poor. And another sickening blow for us to lose the cup final on the 90th minute like that.
Yep. So that rounded out the season, Dave. It was shambolic in the end. In the table, we had played 38, won 27, drawn 4, lost 7, scored 87, conceded 32, goal difference plus 55, and we're on 85 points. 8 behind Celtic with a 10 worse goal difference, 17 ahead of Hearts as well. So if you look at Celtic, they had only won a couple more than us, but they had lost significantly less. So that's been the big issue. One of the things that a few people were mentioning, Clement came in when we were 8 points behind and when they finished up 8 points behind them, so he's not improved it at all. That's just fucking nonsense. Folks saying that don't know what about football, put it that way. There obviously was improvements there, but for whatever reason, the team completely forgot everything that Clement had told them. You seen there was a style of play really from the second or third game that when he first came in, that it was fast, it was free flowing, it was, yes, you'll lose the ball, but we quickly got the ball back, and then all of a sudden, all that hard work, all that great play, they just seem to forget it and revert back into the real ball, as it were. I don't know why that is. And that is part of the reason why this team, and especially the leadership group, need changed, because this is umpteen managers now. And I know people are saying, the umpteen managers can't be wrong about them. Yes, they can, because those managers have been given the sack.
The big thing for me, Derek, was when Clement came in, after a few games, our defence looked fantastic. We weren't conceding goals at all. The odd one here and there, but we went on a run where our defence was letting very few in, and we were really solid, and that's the reason that we were getting the victories, because the defence was strong at the back. And as you quite rightly said, the last few games the defence just looked really, really brittle again, making silly mistakes, and giving us uphill battles in games all the time, because we seem to be going 1-0 down and 2-0 down at certain times. The one sort of positive we can look at is we didn't end the season trophyless, Derek. We did get the League Cup, which was excellent, the fact that we did bring that in. But like you, I really do have faith in the manager, Derek, and I've not said that for a long time. But I do have faith in him. I think he is a proper manager. I think he's got his own ideas about what he wants to do. I think he knows what players need to be emptied. And I've got a funny feeling there are going to be quite a few players that are going. And he certainly, as you'll get into in the news section, he's started the rebuild already. So I do think he knows what he's doing in there, Derek. But, the season just sort of whimpered out for us at the end, which was really disappointing.
I mean, considering at one point maybe 2 months ago we were going for a quadruple. And then we've ended up with the least of all the trophies we could have done. So,
like I said to you at the time, I am putting a lot of that down to injuries also, because he's had to rely on players that a couple of seasons ago would never have got in the Rangers team, Derek, so I'm putting a lot of that down to do with injuries also. I'm not putting the blame on the manager. He can only do what he can do with the players he's got, but we certainly, like I said earlier, we've been let down majorly by the experienced leadership group in the Rangers team, the players who should be lifting the rest of the team, the players that should be leading by example, the players that should be going out there busting a gut to get the victory, and it's just not happened, has it?
No. So we'll leave it there and we'll go into the news. So, as funny as that has all been, the irony of it is there's still Player of the Year awards to go over as well. So the PFA Scotland Awards, the Matondo got the goal of the season for the goal against Celtic in the 3-each game, I think it was. Joe Potter won the SWPL Manager of the Season. Rachel Rowe and Mia Macaulay got the Player and the Young Player of the Year awards. Butland, Tavernier, Lundstrom were in the Men's Team of the Year. Nicola Docherty, Kirsty McLean, Rachel Rowe, Rio Hardy were in the Women's Team of the Year. Graham Souness got a Special Merit Award as well. Clement was named in the shortlist for Manager of the Year. Rodgers was not. Picked up from what I said in the last pod about the other Manager of the Year awards. Obviously, in the end, he did not get it. I think it was the Falkirk manager, quite rightly, got it for being an undefeated season there. Speaking of the Rangers women's team, they lost the league on goal difference on the last day of the season. They were winning their game. Celtic were drawing theirs, which meant that Rangers would have won the title. However, Celtic got a last-minute goal to win the game, which brought them level on points, and I think they had something like a 13 better goal difference than us. An absolute sickener, but with some of the games being double-figure wins this season for both Rangers, Celtic and Glasgow City, no wonder it ended up with that goal difference. Given the amount of money pumped into our women's team, it's not really acceptable. They did, however, have some redemption and they win the Scottish Cup after a 2-0 win against Hearts in the final, which made it a cup double because they won the League Cup earlier on in the season. I think it was before the end of the season, the league season, Joe Potter was asked if the cup double would be a successful season, and she did say it kind of would be. But for me, Dave, much like the men's team, it's no. If you don't win the league, it cannot be classed as a successful season, can it?
It would have been a successful season, I reckon, like the men's team, Derek, if Clement had managed to get a reaction out the players, but Celtic, had kept on their winning ways, and we couldn't have caught them, and we'd have ended up going out and winning the cup again. I would have said yes, successful because there's been a dramatic improvement and we won both cups. But no, we can't say that it has been at all, can we?
No. So we're talking about Clement's rebuild of the squad. He said in a presser that there's going to be changes within the team, and he said that the players in the team are at the end of a cycle, kind of hinting at big changes, and most of us took that to be some of the old guard, including the captain, are going to be leaving. And then he kind of distanced himself from those comments in the next presser, kind of saying that, reading too much into that. So God knows what's happening. Maybe he's just playing it close to his chest. However, one of the first signings he has made is he's confirmed the signing of Brazilian fullback Jefte, I think that's how you pronounced it, on a 4-year deal. He plays on the left, so I'm not sure what that means for Ridvan. Obviously, Borna Barisic is going as well. Apparently, we've signed Jefte for around £800,000. That was the deal we tried to put through in January. However, Applewell refused to terminate the loan from his parent club had with him, so we're kind of tied there. But every player's a risk, Dave. I'm not going to get excited about anybody until I start seeing them. Yeah,
I mean, the rumour mill is in full flow. I like a rumour, but certain players after him have been constantly linked. We've been linked with a centre half and a winger, and that seems to be doing the rounds majorly. Even tonight, that there could be more signings made.
Signed Leon Balogun on a year's extension. He's 35 years old, so maybe not the right way of looking at things, but I don't disagree with it because he's got the experience. He's a good bit part player when you can bring him in. He's certainly not going to be a starter. He is a wee bit injury prone, but I think what people have got to remember is you cannot get rid of everybody. So he's not going to be a big outlay in wages, I can't imagine. So I think it's a good signing to make.
Yep.
I think some of us are going to need to maybe get our heads around the fact that we are going to need to be a selling club. Celtic don't really, and their fans don't really have that big affinity with their players because they're there for a couple of seasons. They play well. They seem to get the money for them, inexplicably for some of them, and they're on their way. That's what Rangers need to start doing. So if we manage to get 15, 20 million plus, because that's what the fees we should be getting for Butland is, if we get offered anywhere in that range, he needs to go because that would fund at least 2 or 3, 4 other good players. We can't afford to knock back that type of money. That funds the rest of the squad. So we've always been good with getting keepers in. Let's just see what happens with Butland. I know he's made hints that he wants to stay, but if a bid comes in and it's of that kind of nature, we'll need to accept it. Next thing here, getting off signings, is the Walter Smith statue was unveiled on the morning of the Scottish Cup final. It was unveiled by Walter's wife and family. It's absolutely stunning, Dave. An absolute fitting tribute to the man, and I'm looking forward to going and seeing it.
It looks fantastic. The likeness is tremendous. The actual pose that they have of him is fantastic. Very fitting of that. And it looks magnificent outside. Like you, Derek, I can't wait to actually go and see it in person. But well done to the sculptor. Well done to the club for getting that done as well, and in a perfect area also, so that the fans will be passing it constantly on match days and stuff. Really, really, really good. I was really pleased with that one.
Yeah. One downside to it, though, is that outside Edmiston House, that there has been a bench put in there, and it's put the inscription all over it is the founding fathers of Edmiston House, and it's got some of the directors' names. Dave, some of these directors have put a lot of money in, and yes, they should be given the recognition, but not like that. That's not the Rangers way of doing it. You put memorials, you put sculpture, you put statues to players like that. You don't put things like a bench with the directors' names on it at Ibrox. It's not for me, Dave.
No, I didn't like that myself either, Derek. It was a bit what's the word I'm looking for? Glorifying, possibly, but no, I really didn't like that one.
No. Next thing here is we're apparently seeking a 5-figure compensation from Dundee after the 2 postponed fixtures due to their pitch state. That's obviously for travel and overnights. They're fighting it, saying that it was our choice to stay overnight. Dundee are also facing another hearing over the issue of their apparently not paying St Johnstone so far for what was effectively a deposit for using their ground that should have our third rearranged fixture have been called off. They were obviously going to play it at McDiarmid Park. Dave, I can almost see their point, but clubs generally travel and they stay in hotels. So yeah, I don't understand what their issue is there.
No, me either.
One wee bit of good news to come out of the end of the season, though, with Atlanta qualifying for the Champions League and Italy having 5 teams in the Champions League, we have been guaranteed a seeded place for the third round and playoff round of the Champions League qualifiers. I think Benfica either getting there or not getting there had something to do with it as well. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy, however. We're still going to have two very hard ties, 4 very hard games if we get that far. So
we do, but there is still an opportunity there, Derek, and which is huge for us. I think it was all down to do with Belgium, the Belgium League champions or something like that. I was reading today that's the reason that we are seeded. So it might give us a very slight advantage, but as you say, there are going to be some massive, really, really hard games in there, but it still does give us that chance.
Yes. Next couple of things here. The SPFL have brought forward a vote to ban plastic pitches from the Premiership. I've no idea when the vote is going to take place. However, a 9-3 majority would carry it forward. Killie are now the only ones with the plastic pitch in the Premiership for next season. They already plan to relay grass for the end of that season anyway. Any clubs promoted the next season would be allowed effectively a year's grace to change to back to grass. So a few clubs have not been happy with this, but it cannot continue with plastic pitches in the top league.
Definitely not.
Yes. And the last piece of news here is Willie Collum has been appointed the head of refereeing by the SFA. On the one hand, it's good that the fact that he's no longer going to be on the pitch refereeing. However, on the other hand, that absolute clown of a man who makes it all about him is now going to be head of
now
referees.
In charge. Yeah. He's now in charge. The biggest egomaniac in Scottish football is now in charge of the referees. That's all it is, and that's what Willie Collum is. We've said it for years, Derek. We've said it for years. Willie Collum isn't biased against the team. He just wants it to be all about him, and now it is.
I mean, apparently there was another candidate from England and he was involved in the referee system down there. He was in the running for it. He had big, fresh ideas, apparently, and they decided to go for jobs for the boys once again. That is the SFA over the back. That is the SPFL executive over the back. It's all to do with protecting their own gravy train rather than what's in the best interest of the league and football in this country. Even Des Roach on their podcast, Des Roach and Conroy said that that's a nonsense decision. It should have been the guy from England with fresh ideas.
Yep, totally.
Nothing's going to change in this country until the SFA get readied out.
It is quite incredible, and as I say, he's now in charge. The one man that you would not want to be in charge is now in charge of the referees. It's actually unbelievable. It really is.
So, no stories again, Dave, but I will go back to my tried and trusted
here we go.
Festival Twitter account.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, after a bit of experimenting, one day I managed to carefully get my whole fist into my arse. Then I had to lay there for a very uncomfortable nearly 3 hours for my wife to get home from work to help me get my stuck and wedged hand out again.
For fuck's sake. Who was it? Stretch Armstrong? Holy shit.
Stretch Armstrong. Next one. Wife was chatting to two chavvy women on holiday. Really didn't want to get stuck with them and their scummy husbands all week, so I walked over, picked off my big toenail, and ate it in front of them all.
That's fantastic.
It's giving Dave ideas for his next holiday.
Fantastic.
Next one. I regularly blow my nose before wiping my arse to make the most of the toilet paper. Accidentally messed the order up the other day. I would not recommend. Next one. Followed an old school friend on Twitter. Over time, they went from tweeting random life stuff to posting hardcore photos and vids from their OnlyFans. I am having a very hard time getting my wife to believe I started following them before they did porn.
Yes, definitely.
I just used the USB port on my work-issued laptop to charge my vibrator.
Okay.
Been living with my boyfriend for 6 months and still need to pop round the corner to Tesco toilets for a shit. I can't have him knowing that his lovely girlfriend has just squeezed out King Kong's finger. Next one. My friend is getting married to a dominatrix in July. I only know because I was one of her customers for years. I'm surprised to be getting an invite, to say the least.
Definitely. Oh.
Bought some sex toys online as a surprise for my boyfriend. All good until I asked Alexa to put the radio on in the kitchen this morning, and before she did, she read out today's reminders, including a complete list of deliveries due today. Teenage son's mortified.
Exactly, yeah, definitely.
And the last one here, my mate had one of those men's shed bars in his garden that was all the rage a couple of years ago. During one drinking session, I was bursting for a shite but couldn't be bothered to walk out to the toilet, so I just shit outside. He thought it was his dog shite and picked it up.
Derek, go and read that toenail one again, please. That has absolutely killed me.
Wife was chatting to two chavvy women on holiday. Really didn't want to get stuck with them and their scummy husbands all week, so I walked over, picked off a big toenail, and ate it in front of them all.
That is absolutely fantastic. Oh dear, that is fantastic. See, it's not just the sexual ones that are funny, Derek. That is genuinely hilarious.
Yes.
Oh dearie dear.
So had to end this podcast and this season with a bit of a laugh.
Oh, definitely. That's tremendous stuff, Derek. Tremendous.
So, Dave and I, it's going to be a long time before we're back. We'll need to recover from this season. We'll see what happens over the summer period. Dave, I've no interest in the Euros, but I might watch a few games, so we'll see what happens anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to watch it. Obviously, I want Scotland to do well, but I've got absolutely no expectations whatsoever. Because I know what will happen. They'll get beat one game, they'll draw another game, and then they'll get beat another game as per. But I will watch it. I'll cheer them on. I know there's a lot of Rangers fans out there that didn't want anything to do with Scotland, but it's old habits and stuff like that. So I will be watching it, and at least it does keep football on the TV for a wee bit longer before we go into the pre-season. But like we just said there, we will have some huge qualifying games coming up at the start of the season, so we just have to hope that the manager has got his new players in, they're bedded in well, he's got them settled, and we get rid of a lot of the players that have been causing the problems over the last few seasons. That's all we can really hope for, isn't it?
Yep. So all that's left to say is thanks for listening this season. I know it's been a slog, but goodbye.
Yeah, okay, take care folks, bye-bye.
And the stadium erupts in red, white and blue. You've never seen anything like it.
Let's go.